It's 2 in the morning. I just took a shower and cracked open a cold Coke. Not even a product placement. I just love Coke. We all know this, but it's time to do a new topic of Ride on Gaming. This one comes from 3 Naretic Sonic fan. I'm probably not saying that right at all. I'm sorry, my man. He says, this was a comment on one of my previous topics. He says, can I suggest a topic? It would be interesting if you discuss about nostalgia blindness. More specifically in 2 arguments. When nostalgia kills a game and when nostalgia makes disappointments. And I'm paraphrasing the rest of your comment here. He goes on to talk about how he's a huge fan of the Sonic franchise. A lot of people consider Sonic Adventure 2 to be a really great game in that franchise, but he actually ended up hating it, and he considers it one of his least favorite games in the series. He also goes on to talk about how many people will play later games in a franchise and hate all the new games when they particularly love all the older games in a franchise, when the new games may be superior in certain aspects. And he says, thanks for your attention and good job. Thank you very much. Awesome topic. We're doing it. Nostalgia is a big thing. Definitely an interesting topic. And I was thinking about this one when I immediately read this comment. Right off the bat, I immediately thought of the one thing that always irritates the living shit out of me, and it's because it's one of my favorite game franchises of all time, and it goes into Pokemon and the whole Gen 1er discussion. Now, if you don't know what that is, Gen 1ers, which is a really dumb phrase that was made up because it just sounds stupid, but a Gen 1er is the kind of person that only loves the original 151 Pokemon and pretty much shits on all the new Pokemon, hates all the new Pokemon designs, calls new Pokemon unoriginal, they're running out of ideas, blah, 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 blah. Usual bullshit like that. And the Gen 1ers are people that, are completely, kind of biased in that respect. They let nostalgia blind them and things like that. And I totally kind of agree in that sense because, this gets into, a Pokemon rant more than anything else, but it's a very good example because the whole idea of Pokemon is that Pokemon can be necessarily anything. Pokemon are just based on animals and things like that. It's always if Generation 5 started first and Generation 1 started 5 years later, people would love Generation 5 and people would hate Generation 1. That is exactly how it would totally work out. People always bring up common Pokemon that they can't stand and hate and think are totally stupid, like Chandelure, Vanillux, Garbodor, Klefki, because these Pokemon are all based on really weird things like garbage, ice cream, a chandelier, keys, for crying out loud. And yeah, that's totally a true thing. Those are what those Pokemon are based on. But people seem to also forget the fact that in the original 151 Pokemon, there is Execute, which is based on a half dozen eggs. Executor was just a pine tree or whatever the fuck, coconut tree. Voltorb was just a Pokeball with eyes. Muck was literally a pile of sludge. Magnemite, Magneton, those were floating magnets. I mean, these things happened throughout the entire generation of Pokemon. Throughout all 700 Pokemon. And people also overlook the fact that, Generation 5, Generation 4 had really interesting Pokemon like Krookodile, which was based on a crocodile, Hippowdon, which was based on a hippo, really interesting Pokemon that are based on, animals, which is also what was in the... And again, it gets into a whole argument on Pokemon, and, but it's the same basic principle, right? Nostalgia totally blinds people. Nostalgia totally gets in the people in people's ways. In their line of thinking. It goes into one of the... There's a word for this, and I forget what it's called. I'll probably have to look it up or something and display it to you. But it's one of those things where it goes into almost like a psychological thing, to be honest, where it's the more... If you ever are in an argument with somebody and you give them, factual information against their opinions and against, what they stand for and everything, and you bring valid points to the argument that they can't necessarily defend, it makes the opposing party more standby of their own opinion. It makes them more invested in what they truly believe in, even if it's not necessarily right. And it's probably in scientifically and psychologically, into the human psyche, it's people don't want to admit that they're wrong even when they feel that they're wrong because they have some sort of insecurity. So I'm sure something like that has a lot to do with it. But realistically, I mean, this is a tough discussion to have because there's nothing factual about this, really. I mean, if people are blinded by nostalgia, then that's just what it is. It is what it is. Even if, for whatever the reason may be, if they do or do not like a certain game because of nostalgia, it's they can't really help that. They like it if they like it. They don't like it if they don't like it. There's really nothing you can do about it. It goes into the classic internet thing where people fight in the comments of something or argue in a thread about which game's better than which, what's unoriginal, what is original, what has better gameplay mechanics. Everyone's just trying to convince everyone else about their opinion and that their opinion is right. And nostalgia plays a pretty key role in that. Yeah, I mean, that's just, it is what it is, man. With both your examples. I mean, it's like a tough discussion to have because really you can't be factual about it, but I totally believe that nostalgia can cloud people's judgment. It happens all the time. I can't necessarily say it happens for everybody, but oh yeah, it totally happens. I mean, one thing you also got to look at is when you're talking about like a really big gap in games where it's like, you know, some of the first Sonics to later Sonic games. That's a pretty big drastic jump in terms of like technology advancements, graphics, gameplay mechanics, and everything. And for a lot of people that are like playing new games today, it's not necessarily easy for people to like go back. And that's kind of understandable to a point. If somebody like has grown accustomed to like 3D graphics and certain gameplay mechanics, going back to older games might not be as easy for them and might not be as enjoyable for them. That might play a key role into why some people say like, oh, you know, past games were truly better and everything, blah 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 blah, because that's just what they grew up with and that's what they're used to. That's what they were accustomed to and everything. And they're not adjusting to new games, whereas newcomers to new franchises don't necessarily like the old games because they don't like the dated mechanics of certain games, like you mentioned. I mean, you like another good example, at least for me, that I find is like going back to GTA 3 or something. Fantastic game, love Grand Theft Auto 3, or any like GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas, excellent games. But when you play something like Grand Theft Auto 5, Grand Theft Auto 5 has a lot of good, awesome advancements that make those past games feel really dated. Things like, and it's really simple stuff too, like the weapon wheel. The radio wheel, the fact that you can respawn during missions and there's like checkpoints and missions and everything, doing fast travel with cabs and stuff like that. You know, small little mechanics like those go like a real long way, yet some people will still tell you that like, you know, GTA and Vice City were like really like amazing games that are like way better than GTA 5, and like that's not like, again, this is like such a tough conversation to have because I can agree with people that possibly do think that way, but I'm just using that as kind of like a really rough example. Like there's certain gameplay mechanics that GTA 5 has that truly outshines past GTA games. I'm not necessarily like agreeing that GTA 5 is better than the other, you know, Vice City and everything, because a lot of people actually consider Vice City like the best GTA game, and I can see why people think that. I love all GTA games. Again, this is a tough conversation to have because there's no way to be like right about this. All I can really say is that yeah, nostalgia totally plays a key role in people's line of thinking. It's just a matter of like hoping that the people that you're talking to or having a conversation with aren't being blinded by nostalgia, but it totally happens. I hope you enjoyed this video, my friend. I hope that gave you a little insight into how I feel about this topic. Really, when I read your comment, I was just like, oh yes, this gives me an excuse to make my Pokemon rant, because trust me, I use that rant a lot, and oh my god, it's so effective. I can't fucking stand people that completely love the original 151 and act like all the new Pokemon are like so unoriginal. It's like, oh my god, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, that's the whole point of Pokemon. When a new generation comes out, it's the whole point. There's like how many species of animals on the world? Pokemon are essentially that same sort of basic concept, but Pokemon can also be objects. Whenever a new generation of Pokemon comes out, I'm not pissed at the new designs. I'm just like, oh sweet, new Pokemon. It builds the world, it builds the universe, it gives me options, it gives me like, I'm not gonna like every single Pokemon, but I don't have to hate every single one. Alright, I think I should stop before I freak the fuck out. Thank you so much for the comment, for the topic submission. That's the word I'm looking for. Anyway, if you have any other topics, guys, please, of course, let me know. Please talk in the comments below. I need sleep. Apparently, it is 2 in the morning. And I'll see you all in my next video. Take it easy.